back to the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. Today is going to be a solo show. And in fact, I'm very excited for 2025 because we are going to be incorporating more solo shows this year. We have lots of topics planned that I think will resonate with a lot of listeners. And we're hoping to bring you kind of some new information formatted a little bit differently with the same really beneficial type of feel. So I'm really looking forward to what we have in store for 2025. And today is going to be an episode really geared around what you can bring to your health coaching practice in 2025 to take it to the next level. Now, if you aren't incorporating these things, you could start. If you're a new coach, you could certainly start with building these things, right, as you build your business. But these are 3 things that I think are incredibly crucial to starting the new year or just rededicating your attention to, right? Sometimes we know how important they are in the beginning, but we kind of might let 1 or 2 slide. And these are the things that I think will be most impactful for building a really beneficial practice to both yourself, but really for your clients as well, right? We know that a lot of our mission, right? So many of us share the same mission, which is to impact other people, whether it be their health, their mind, their body, their families. We really just have a passion for bringing as much health and wellness information to the world as possible. And I think if you can capitalize on these 3 things, you will be most successful at doing that. Creating that ripple effect, creating a strong business for yourself, and a really beautiful community for your clients. So the 3 things, and I'm going to go into each one in depth, but the 3 things that I'm going to talk about today, the first is empathy and connection. Okay, so that is one thing that I believe is incredibly important for a successful practice and just for successful ongoing relationships. The second is going to be ongoing continuing learning, right? Education, learning, and growth as it pertains to continuing to get new information as the health and wellness world evolves. And then the third is authenticity and integrity, right? Being true to who you are, doing what you say you're going to do, being who you say you are. I think these 3 are what create a lot of that trust, right? Which creates a really strong foundation for our relationships with our clients. Those strong foundations and relationships create referrals, right? Because if someone likes, knows, trusts you, they're going to refer you to somebody else. And ultimately, someone is going to be, I believe, more invested in their own journey if they have somebody that's kind of on their side, that they truly believe cares and is invested in their outcome, right? It's how we're hardwired as human beings. There's a lot of, there's some people, I think it's rare, to be honest, to be entirely self-motivated. You're on your own. It doesn't matter who's in your corner, who believes in you. You're just going to do it, right? A lot of people need that direction. They need the accountability. They need someone there. And I think these 3 things are going to set you apart for how well you're able to at first connect with a client, continue to nurture that relationship. And then when those clients are ultimately done, or they are in a position where they're really in a great place, they're going to continue to refer people that they know need you, right? Just like they at one point needed you. The goal is really to have someone kind of fly the coop. They've done all the work. They're feeling so much better. I can't tell you how many clients of mine have done the work and now they're IHPs and they're helping other people who are then becoming IHPs, right? They feel that, again, that change that is so important for, I think, everything that we do going forward, right? Our health and wellness determines everything. It doesn't determine what it is, but how powerful it can be, right? Everything that we have in life, our relationships, just our experience overall and how powerful that can be. So let's start with the first one and dive into that. And it is empathy and connection. Okay. So I've said this quote before on the podcast: no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. It is true. it's true for, I would say, 95% of your clientele. If someone knows and believes that this is the one thing you absolutely love to do, and they know how much you care, your connection with that client, right, whether it's on a discovery call, whether it's ongoing, is going to be much deeper. Okay. And I think we all share that in common, right? Most health coaches are doing this because they truly care, right? Because we're empathic beings, because we want to have somebody else feel what we once felt, right? We want them to know how good it feels to get well. We know how maybe it felt to be in a really dark place at one time, whether it was with our health, whether it was with, certain goals that we were trying to reach, right? Infertility, or we know at some point, most of us, how hard it is to feel unwell and how maybe hopeless that feels, right? And if you can meet your clients with considerable empathy and connection, that bond gets so much stronger. It builds that that know, that trust, because they actually truly believe you care. And this isn't something that you have to learn to do. We all have this inside of us, but I think conveying it is what is most important, right? And getting into touch with what is it inside of you, right? That creates such a desire to want to share this, right? And getting in touch with that and sharing your story. That's going to, a little bit go into number 3. It's really important to connect on an emotional level. I think so many people are truly starving for that these days. I really do. I think that a lot of virtual businesses, there's a benefit to being able to work virtually, but I think a lot of human connection has been lost, right? You can now check out at the grocery store by yourself, and not even, you could walk into the grocery store and leave without talking to a single soul. Check out on your own, pack your own bag, and then leave. That didn't used to be the case, right? You would have to go to a checkout, talk to somebody. Hi, how are you? Okay, right? You would have an interaction. And I think so much of that has changed in modern day society. And I think so many people are looking for an empathic connection. And I think if you can get really good at that with your clients, it really will set you apart, and it will set you up for, again, a stream of ongoing referrals, because people will say, you know what, she cares so much. She's going to do everything she can to help you. And again, it's that empathy and connection that someone can feel that sets it apart. Okay. So number 2 is knowledge and ongoing learning. We are in an industry where there's really never a time where you know everything. It is constant education, constant learning. Things are always evolving, whether it be, studies about certain supplements or studies about certain biohacking things or longevity, right? There is always the opportunity to keep learning. And as you keep learning, you continue to build your confidence. Not to say that you don't know whatever you know right now is enough to start, right? But continuing to learn is going to help continue to build your confidence, because the more you know, the more knowledgeable you can speak to things. And the more knowledgeable you speak to things, the more clients are going to see your confidence, the more you feel confident, right? So you show up differently. You might feel better about going to speak at a seminar at a local health food store, or doing a podcast, or speaking on Instagram if you had a vaster knowledge, right? So keep learning, keep reading, podcasts, certainly things like RHS, right? Summits that are going to give you some sort of ongoing information. That's what I love about this industry is there's never a time where I ever feel like I know enough. And it's an opportunity for you to continue to grow as a person, right? Because there's constant learning to be done, there's constant growth to be had. And when you're growing, you're evolving. And when you're evolving, you're becoming a better version of yourself, not only for your own well-being, but for those around you, your family, your children, your spouse, your family, your clients, your business. And you're just showing up in the world in a way that is ever changing. Okay. So ways that you can, books, and this can kind of come down to, I think, a little bit of the niching down, right? Do you want to really learn about fertility this year? Or do you really want to learn about menopause and really become a specialist in this? So that could certainly be where you start to, put a little bit more emphasis certainly on your knowledge, but you can also take, other seminars from, the went to say Great Plains, but it's Mosaic now, right? They do seminars on the oat. Do you want to dive a little bit deeper into that? The CPC program that we have, that I'm lucky enough to mentor those coaches, right? There's so much ongoing education within IHP itself, right? There's BME. Maybe you want to take something specific to business, right? So that's your BME course. Something to continue fostering your knowledge, because again, more knowledge is going to allow you to show up with more confidence. And when you show up with more confidence, you show up in a way that people can really sense you're the expert. Right? You want to feel like the expert. You want your clients to understand that you're the expert so that you can continue to help them along in whatever they're going through, right? Sometimes things change with clients. I've worked with, clients, I've helped them get pregnant. And then, 6 years later, they're dealing with, all sorts of adrenal based issues. And so we work through that. The way that we help clients is ever changing as well, because their lives change. And so their health issues, or maybe now that you start working with kids, you've worked with a ton of women for years, and now they all have kids that are 4, 5, 6, and they're presenting with issues. So maybe you want to get a little bit more confident with working with kids. But either way, continuing to expand your knowledge and doing, further education, I think is so important for investing in yourself, investing in your business, and continuing to kind of build the confidence in your knowledge base, because ultimately that's what's going to enable you to help more people. The more you know, right? Know better, do better, and being able to help more people. Okay, and then the last is authenticity and integrity. And I think this one can be so challenging for so many people. And I think our first thought is like immediately to social media, because social media can be this vortex of, really grass is greener, a lot of like comparisonitis, and the authenticity and integrity can go far beyond that, right? It could just be how authentic and how much integrity you hold with your clients if you work just one-on-one, right? Or within a group. But it is really hard to feel like you can trust somebody if you don't feel like they're being authentic, or they're not, showing up in alignment, or they don't have integrity behind what they say they will do. And it's one thing, the authenticity, I think specifically, is one thing that creates that connection, right? I kind of brought it up when we were talking about the empathy and connection, because when you feel like someone's being authentic, you then can actually connect with them. If you're unsure of their authenticity, you're unsure ultimately of who they are. And so it's like, well, how do you connect with someone who you're not really sure even who they're being, what they believe, what they stand for, what they say, what they'll do, right? So the authenticity is your gateway to connection. And the connection is what creates that like, know, and trust. So I think authenticity and integrity are such an important part of how you show up. Now, yes, it's on your calls, whether it's a group session or one-on-one or with a discovery call. But then if you do things like social media, right, really, social media can be this highlight reel of nonstop looking like things are really rosy, or, you only have a perfectly, put together kitchen, and you're only eating these, perfectly beautified meals, when maybe one day that your kitchen's a mess, and actually you take like a can of sardines and dump it into red sauce like I do in a pan, and your kids left over brown rice pasta, mix it up, and like that's a meal. Well, actually, that tastes just as delicious and is just as genius as the other beautiful meal that I might have put together a few days before. It's just that it's a different day. And if you can show that you're, days are different, that your seasons change, that some days you have a bad day, some days you have a good day, some days you have a really good day, and some days you have a really bad day, and kind of showing the full landscape of what it means to be human, because we are all health coaches, but we are all not perfect. None of us, no one's perfect. No, not any, specific type of business is perfect. But I think for people who are struggling to stay committed to health and wellness goals, it's important to see the humanity behind someone who they might think is doing it all perfectly. And yes, most of us are doing things kind of, we walk the walk, right? 90% of the time. But then there's times where I do make my kids chicken fingers because I need a quick go-to meal in between practice, and understanding the humanity in that, I think lets someone else feel the humanity in themselves. They let go of needing to hold themselves to this perfection standard. And that pressure, you can almost relax into the process differently, I believe, because if the goal isn't perfection and it's simply progress, then where we want to show clients our expertise and we want to show clients our authenticity is in the progress, in the process, and the progress of, maybe for a client who's, eating fast food 7 days a week, organic gluten-free chicken nuggets from Purdue, from the freezer section, that's progress. Okay, they're not eating McDonald's. Maybe that's progress. For another client, progress looks very differently. Maybe they're eating, they're not eating enough, and you need to just start to get them to eat more. Sometimes progress for clients is actually helping them to let go of really strict, stressful, rigid thoughts. And that's progress, right? So progress is going to look different for everybody. And in maintaining your authenticity of what progress and wellness look like for you, I think is really important. It can be really refreshing, especially when there are certain social media sites or websites or YouTubers or whatever influencers, right, that are showing only highlight reels. I mean, there's times where I look at, it's mostly usually families, like where everybody's dressed perfectly. And I'm like, where are the meltdowns? Can we see the meltdowns? Because I know they're happening, right? Like, kids are kids. And it's interesting how when you are in the presence of somebody who shows you the messy with the beautiful, you're able to kind of go, like you get it. I get you. You probably get me if you experience this, right? But if you feel like there's kind of something that you're still working through, so if your clients feel like they're still working through something, right? And you come across as this perfectionist who does not stray from the straight and narrow ever, and because you want them to think that like you have it all together, then they're going to feel some sort of inferiority there. They're going to think like, okay, I have to pretend like I'm being perfect too, because that's what she's doing. And if she's asking me to do this, now this is different than being a role model. Okay. You want to be a strong role model for your clients, but that's where the integrity comes in. If you say, right, that you wake up and walk in the morning and you use your blue light blocking glasses and you go to bed at 9:00, right? You should be doing those things if you're telling clients you are, right? But the authenticity comes in when you're real about the process and the experience overall. Maybe some mornings it's hard for you to get up and walk, but you still do it anyway. So the role model part is there. You're doing it. But being honest on social media or with a client about, like, actually, it's hard for me sometimes to stick to my practices, right? That's where the dedication comes in. I don't always feel motivated, but I remain dedicated and disciplined. And if you're able to be authentic with the choices that you make in the way that you live your life, your clients will feel able to be authentic with you, and they'll open up about where their challenges are, right? They're going to open up and say, you know what? It's really hard for me to do X, Y, and Z. Also, can you help me with that? Now you have a window to connect, to validate, and to then give them a solution, because you're the expert, because you're the one that is helping them kind of hold the container of these new changes that they're looking to make. you're able to say like, yeah, you know what I do when it feels really hard to get up and, walk first thing in the morning? I remember that it isn't about the big things that I do. It seems like such a small thing and like, I'll just skip it for today. But actually the truth is in the little things, right? This is what I try to remind myself is like, it might seem like a small task, whatever I choose to do, but it is in these small habits that we do consistently that do make up big changes, right? We can't really, other than doing like major, I don't even know what would be like major fast. It truly is living intentionally with small, simple habits daily that stack up to major overall big changes in our life, whether it be, with our career, with our health, with our mindset, all of that. And all you have is the moment right now, right? And so you can make a choice. You can get up and you can remain disciplined. So I remember back when I was personal training, people would always say like, how do you stay motivated, or how do you, and motivation, I think, is what comes from discipline. But I think remaining disciplined is how you continue to do the things that matter and that accumulate to big changes, right? The discipline is the choice to do it even when it feels hard. And so it's not that you say like, oh yeah, I don't walk either in the morning because that's super hard. That's not being a great role model as a coach, right? But showing them that sometimes, yeah, that actually is a hard thing for me to do. And I remain disciplined by doing this. And just showing the humility, right, in the experience of being human, because truly that's all anybody wants, is the relationship to feel authentic and for the relationship to feel connected. It's with anything, right? Our kids need us to be connected before they're going to hear us. Our spouses need to feel connected before they're going to hear us. If you can connect and you can validate before you try to educate, that is where the beauty comes in, right? That's where you're going to get the most receptive person to to absorb everything that you're saying. Because once there's a connection, there's a whole lot more, I think, learning that can be done. It truly is that like the body feels less stress. It softens and it's able to actually learn and think that like, yeah, there is another way that I can do this. I know I've thought that I don't have time for exercise, but what I'm hearing her say is she believes that I can find a solution to this. It was hard for her at one point too, because she's a mom of 3, but she did it. And if she can do it, so can't I. Right? That's the inspiration that you want to pass on. You want your authenticity to serve as inspiration, because if you can inspire someone through your authenticity, the good, the bad, the ugly, then they're able to find hope in their ability to do it. Right? This is what IHP was built on, truly, right? The man who developed IHP, Dr. Stephen Cabral, he was sick. He was desperate. He was insanely unwell at one point. He said to himself, if I find answers, it will be my mission to share it with the world. And he did just that. And so every IHP, I believe, shares that similar passion of a lot of IHPs went through the same exact process, right? They found him, they got well, whether it was through running functional medicine labs or through IHP itself, and now they're passing the information on. And so really using that vulnerability and that authenticity to connect with clients allows them to soften and see the hope. Because if you were there and now you're not, well, so can't they. And that's the beauty of really being in full alignment with your integrity and your authenticity. It provides your client with, I would say, something more valuable than the knowledge, right? Because you can Google just about anything. You could look for a lot of information, and you can find what maybe supplements are good for killing candida or what supplements might be good for sleep. But being able to feel like you have hope, that's not something you can find on the internet. Building a connection with someone who has true empathy and will connect with you, you can't find on the internet. For building a connection with someone who is learned a lot, built a knowledge base, has wisdom, has a whole lot of education behind them. You can't find that on the internet. Finding someone who is authentic and aligned with who they say they are, acts with integrity, and is able to meet you with humanity, humility, with real, sincere, vulnerable connection, you can't find that on the internet. And what that gives someone is connection and hope. And it's oftentimes through the belief that they can get well too, that their body's even able to receive the beauty of things like supplements and nutrition changes. But eating well, taking supplements, and not really believing that you can get well, or not believing that you can ever find yourself on the other side of your darkness and your desperation, it's really hard to get that body and mind well. It is. And I believe that the sole purpose that health coaches, what they serve for clients that get the results, and for coaches that are really good at what they do, they are able to instill the connection and hope for those clients. And now the body and mind are able to believe that they truly can get well. And that's the relationship, the container that has frankly had me in tears over the years. I've had clients, write me the most thoughtful, emotional emails. I've met many of my clients in person. RHS has been an amazing way for me to do that. Other coaches, but their emotions all share the same thing. And the emotion is, thank you so much for believing in me. And thank you so much for what you taught me, right? Thank you so much for instilling that hope that when I didn't think I could do it, or I didn't think that I could find the answers or finally get well, you believed in me. You believed I could get pregnant. You believed that I could, that I could overcome my depression. You believed that I could sleep better and, have better anxiety or relationships with my kids, right? It was, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for instilling the hope. Thank you for showing me that it was possible. And that's ultimately what your clients are coming to you for. They can find magnesium is good for sleep on the internet. It's really helpful and important. But what they can't get through a Google search is the beauty of your heart, the beauty of your mind, and the beauty of your soul. And that is what's going to set you apart. What's going to make your business feel good, right? It's what makes you get off a call and go, I love what I do. What I do is so important in this world. It's so important for others, and it's so important to me. I mean, it's ultimately why I couldn't stay away from coaching, and why I didn't want to not come back to this podcast, because this is where my connection lied. This was where my purpose was. And I think without that, this is why we're here. Right? It's why we're here. We're meant to connect. We're meant to be of service. We're meant to be in a community where we feel like we belong, where we're able to bring others in and have them feel like they belong, right? Like at the end of the day, that's why we're here. And so all of the work that we're doing is such incredible work. And I think these three things, the empathy and connection, the ongoing furthering of education and knowledge, and the authenticity and integrity, are things that are going to propel your business, your reach, and just the energetic, the way your business and you as a brand show up, right? It's the way that you show up energetically, what you attract for clients, what you attract from a business standpoint, and who you're able to serve. That's really what is going to take things to the next level in 2025. I am looking forward to so much more to bring you for these solo shows. I hope you enjoyed the first of 2025. I certainly did. I hope you found these tips helpful. Certainly let us know if there's any topics that you would like to hear more of. We have lots planned. And here's to a prosperous, great 2025 with lots of connection, lots of community, and lots of learning and connection, because truly that's what we all need ongoing. Okay, I thank you so much for listening, and I'll look forward to the next time.